So we continue with our overview of the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Dhyana Yoga. Today we will discuss verses 25 till 36. So before we have heard about the practice of yoga. In this section, mainly will refer to the realizations of such a yogi. That we will hear that such a Krishna conscious yogi, he sees Krishna everywhere, situated in everyone's heart as a separate soul, and he sees everything in Krishna and Krishna in everything. Thus he sees all living entities with an equal mind. And then at the end of this section, Arjuna will say, "Thank you, I cannot do that." He rejected the yoga system. It tells Arjuna, this mind is like the wind, controlling the wind. I cannot control it. But at the end, Krishna will assure Arjuna, you can do it. Just it requires practice and detachment. Now, the verse 25. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sanai Saneru Paramat Bhutya Vitahitaya Atma Samstamana Kritva Nakinchit Apashintet. Clearly, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence sustained by full conviction. And thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. So, pratyahara means withdrawing from the sense objection, going inside, concentrating on the self. So the mind is withdrawn from all sensory activities, and then one fixes one's meditation on our real self, the spirit soul inside. And inside, one will feel great pleasure when Krishna is satisfied. So, by proper conviction and intelligence, one should hardly cease sense activities. That's the definition of pratyahara. So, the next verse, 26. Yato yato nichalati manasansamashtiram tatastatonyam yeta atmaneva vasamnayat. From wherever the mind wanders, due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the self. So the mind is very flickering. It focuses on this and that and that and that. And that. You chant Hare Krishna and the mind wants to do something else. It goes from one thing to another, and before you know, you are five points further, and you have to get the mind back and bring it back to thinking of Krishna. It's like a horse is running away from the stable. You get the horse, you bring it back to the stable, and that's the practice during the chanting. The mind wants to do something, you have to bring it back to just hearing about Krishna. That's practice of control of the mind. Don't let the mind do what it wants. So, the slide of verse 26. The mind is flickering and unsteady. Therefore, we need the mind to engage always in devotional activities. You see this young devotee here. That young devotee was practiced for Damodar Maharaj when he was a young boy. That he was already chanting. So Srila Prabhupada said, one who controls the mind is a Goswami or Swami. And one who is controlled by the mind is called Godas or servant of the senses. Because we become the servant of the mind in all his dictations and this and that. So a servant of Krishna becomes ultimately the servant of the mind and the servant and the senses, because the mind and senses are engaged in Krishna's service. The Godas is a servant of the senses. Next, 27, 28. You can go to slide 50. So 27, 28. Vashantamas manasam yenam yoginam sukham uttamam papaite sandaracha sambrahma bhuttam akalmasam. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the modes of passion. He realizes qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus is freed from all reactions to past deeds. 28. Yungyam eva sadatmanam yoga virata kalmasa sukena brahma samsprahyam atyam tam sukam ashnate. Thus the self-controlled yogi, constantly engaged in yoga practice, becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental loving service. So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, what does it mean, self-realization? It's knowing who we are, our constitutional position, and knowing what our relationship is with the Supreme, and engage in that relationship. We are part and parcel of the Supreme, and therefore we are meant to render transcendental service to the Lord. We are like, in 57 Bhagavad Gita explains, we are part and parcels of Krishna. Like we have a part of a machine. It's only useful when it's connected with the machine. If it's separate, but we have become separate. It's like a fire. You have fire sparks, and the sparks, they are also light up. They are fire, but then they fall down and they dove out, and that's us. That's our situation. We have to get back into the fire to revive our spiritual nature, our spiritual consciousness, and that going back into the fire is done by engaging in our relationship with Krishna. Then we are connected with the source of all spiritual energy. Like a light bulb, when it's not connected with the electricity, and electricity coming from the powerhouse, it will not burn. It has to be connected with the powerhouse. You have to reconnect with the powerhouse. 29. That 29 and 30, these are important verses. They are explaining the vision and the consciousness of someone who has attained spiritual perfection. 29. Sarvabhutastamatmanam sarvabhutani satmani ikshate yogi tatma sarvata samadarshana. A true yogi observes me in all beings and sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere. If you practice this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, just by through the knowledge you can also see in that way. Krishna is before explained in the previous chapter that we are not the doer. Everything is done by material nature. So a devotee sees that this person moves his hand. Oh, that's the super soul is moving his hand because he desires. So with your intelligence, you see the super soul. That we cannot see the super soul with our senses. They are material. That's not possible in that way. Although Krishna can reveal him through that, but that's another thing. So a Krishna conscious yogi is the perfect seer. He sees things perfectly because he sees Krishna in everyone's heart. I see how Krishna in everyone's heart is controlling material nature, is controlling the whole situation. And we are not the controller. So you start to see the real drama of life. What's really going on? That Krishna gives situations, creates circumstances to material nature, and according to our past actions, and he sees how Krishna does that and gives these reactions. That our Krishna is a capability in man. Thus, he sees that all living entities, they are situated in this energy of the Supreme Lord. We see the world through this mind. All that our eyes see, that's constructed by the mind. So that because that is, we think that's the reality, but we can perceive with our senses. But we are just in this machine, this body, and this body perceives things in such a way. But it's also temporary illusion. And that's not easy to understand in a conditioned state. That it's just a temporary drama. That in the 11th canto of the Bhagavad Gita, it's explained there are 3 types of material consciousness. Jagrati, awake. Now we are so-called awake, but not spiritually awake. But we are awake, yes. And when we swapna, when we sleep and dream. And susupti, that's deep sleep. Deep sleep. Then we are not connected. We don't experience our connection with the subtle mind or with the gross body. That's near to the transcendental stage. But these 3 stages are all 3, the Bhagavad Gita says, illusory stages of material life. And beyond that, there is the spiritual consciousness, Turiya. And that's the real consciousness. That's our real consciousness, and that's covered now. So all living entities are situated in the energy of Krishna, and they are either serving through the material energy, serving their senses, their mind and senses, or they are serving Krishna if they are spiritually awake. So the Krishna person sees how the living entity is in all circumstances a servant. That when in England they have beautiful parks everywhere, But why are people going to the bar, to the park with their with their dog? Their dog has to do something, walking. So they are the servant of their dog. D-O-G. You are D-O-G, servant of the dog, or G-O-D, servant of God. Two possibilities. That and the devotee sees that everyone is serving in his way to different energies, and they are all situated in Krishna. And then a further realization, 6:30. Yeah, you see here all these babies on the screen, 29, right? That the yogi sees equally, because he sees that all living entities, all in different situations according to the results of fruitive work, in all circumstances remain the servant of God. This vision of equality is perfect in a person in Krishna consciousness. And now the next slide, seeing Krishna eye to eye. Yamam pashati sarvatra sarvam samai pashyati tasyam na panashyami sasame na pranashyati. For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I never lost. And he's never lost to me. So that the devotee is always connected with Krishna. In the 9th canto of the Bhagavatam, when Durvasa Muni goes to Lord Narayan says to Durvasa Muni that my devotee always thinks of me. And I'm always thinking of my devotee. My devotee does not know anything else than me, and I do not know anything else than my devotee. That's quite a relationship. That is how a pure devotee always lives, conscious of Krishna every moment. So the devotee who loves Krishna cannot bear any moment of separation. That at this stage, Krishna never appears from his sight, because he understands nothing can exist without Krishna. And Krishna is the Lord of everything. So here you see Mother Yasoda looking in the mouth of Krishna, and she sees all the universes, and she sees the earth, and she sees Vrindavan, and she sees in the mouth of Krishna herself looking in the mouth of Krishna. So that's the ultimate vision of a devotee, is sees Krishna everywhere. So, yeah, Baldev Vidyabhushan translates, he who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me never lost sight of me, nor do I lose sight of him. Srila Prabhupada, in the purport comments, when the living entity becomes fully loving Krishna, then in that stage the living entity can never be annihilated, nor is the personality of God ever out of sight of the devotee. Now text 31. Sarvabhutam stitam yo mam pachyati katvam astita savata vartamanapi sayohi mai vartate. Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the Super Soul, knowing that I and the Super Soul are one, remains in me in all circumstances. So the perfect yogi, he realizes that when he meditates on the Super Soul, that he's meditating on Krishna, because the Super Soul is an expansion of Krishna. And when he realizes that, from that moment he becomes perfect because he will engage in the service of Krishna. He will act as a part and parcel, as a servant of Krishna, acting spiritually, not just meditating. And that brings him to the perfection. So a devotee engaged in service to Krishna is non-different from this yogi meditating on the super soul. It's on the same platform. So that's on the screen. There is no difference between a Krishna conscious person always engaged in transcendental service to Krishna, and a perfect yogi engaged in meditation on the super soul. You see on the screen down this Gurukula boy, and then this yogi up. That the Gurukula boy may be a greater yogi than the yogi above, because he's always engaged in worshipping Krishna sincerely. So the yogi in Krishna consciousness, even though he may be engaged in various activities while in material existence, remains always situated in Krishna. Now text 32. Atmapayena sarvatra samam pashati yoyuna sukam vayadi vadukam sayogi paramomata. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all living beings in both their happiness and distress. So the devotee understands the distress of other living entities from his own experience. Everybody I'm suffering, they are also suffering. But they are suffering because they have forgotten their relationship with Krishna. And the devotee is happy in Krishna consciousness because he feels happy. He wants to give this knowledge of Krishna to everyone. So that is better than the yogi, because the yogi is only concerned with his own liberation, his own salvation. He has gone to a secluded place to meditate for his own perfection, but the devotee wants to give it to others also. Arjuna, I consider him to be the topmost yogi who sees everywhere the happiness and distress of others as his own. He knows I'm also suffering, that we have in common. The cause, next slide, the cause of distress of a living entity is forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna. And the cause of his knowing Krishna, and the cause of his happiness, is knowing Krishna, that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, that is the enjoyer of all the activities of the human beings. And that is the proprietor of all lands and planets, and the sincerest friend of all living entities. That was the last verse of previous chapter. Now Arjuna will reject the Ashtanga Yoga system. So you can go to slide 58. So Arjuna will reject the Ashtanga Yoga system, because in his mind, he says, appears uncontrollable. But Krishna assures, yes, you can control the mind by constant practice and detachment. Text 33, you have the child on the... No. Arjuna vachayoyam yogastvaya pukta samyena madhusudan etasyam na pashyami sansadat pad stitim stiram. Arjuna said, O Madhusudan, The system of yoga, which you have summarized, appears to be impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. He said, yes, Arjuna says indirectly that because my mind is attached to so many things in this world, it's stronger and it overcomes my intellect. You have here this serious young man. He took a little too much cake. So his mind overcame his intellect. The mind said, yes, it's good, you eat, but then you have eaten too much. And that's happening to all of us regularly. The mind says, yes, eat, do this and do that. But a devotee learns not to listen to the mind, but to use the mind and engage it. That text 34. Sansalami mana Krishna pramati bhavapam tritam tasyam niham manye payaripa sudushkam. The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna. And to subdue it, I think it's more difficult than controlling the wind. That's so. Arjuna is saying, yes, the mind is so strong. Many times it overcomes the intelligence. As an acute infection may surpass the efficacy of medicine. You can take a medicine, but when the affection is too strong, then it will not help much. Next slide. So we cannot capture the wind. So we cannot control the wind. How can we do something about it? This seminar-ch6part3 says, the mind is fickle, agitating, strong, and firm. I think it's more. It is more difficult than controlling the wind. But so we have here this picture of this wind that Srila Prabhupada makes a point in the purport. Only by chanting Hare Krishna with humility can we be delivered from the mind's control. Because the mind is controlled by lust, anger, greed, and so on. And by performing devotional service, hearing about Krishna and chanting Hare Krishna, by connecting with Krishna, the mind becomes purified, and gradually you get control back. That text, yeah. Next slide. You see these two horses and a carriage, and a man is guiding the horses. So the individual is the passenger. That's us in the car of the material body. We are in the car of the material body. That's called in Sanskrit ahamkar. I'm the car, thinking I'm the body. But we are in the body. We are the passenger in the car. And intelligence is the driver. How does the soul engages the driver? By faith, by desire. That the soul said that's the right thing, so desire. And it desires the intelligence to act in a certain way. So the mind is a driving instrument. That's the connection with all the senses. And the senses are the horses. So that's important information. That some don't, if you don't understand that, then the driving may become very, very dangerous. Text 35. 35. Lord Krishna will reply. Asamsama bho manudurni samsalam abhyasnat kantya vairachena sakriyate. Lord Krishna said, Almighty I am son of Kunti. It is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and detachment. So here, Lord Krishna, Srila Prabhupada in the translation, he used the word suitable practice. So what is suitable practice? It's explained on the screen by the practice of Krishna consciousness. One engages in 9 types of devotional service. The first and foremost of such devotional engagement is hearing about Krishna. Hearing about Krishna. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached. And detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. Next slide. So detachment is called vairagya in Sanskrit. So vairagya, here Srila Prabhupada says that by the discharge of devotional service, by performing devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from material objectives. So the more you become detached, the more satisfied. If you become attached to something in this world, everything what you become attached to is temporary. And everything in this world changes constantly. That you have a car, you must maintain it. A lot of distress. You have a house, you have to maintain it. You have this hotel, you have to paint it, so many things. Otherwise it's falling apart. So you have to clean it. The point is, if we become attached to it, and then something happens what we did not expect. Relations change, relationships change. Your car get an accident, and you feel pain. You feel pain about a lost relationship, about the car you lost. But why do we feel that pain? Because we are attached. And why are we attached? We want to enjoy it. We want to get something from it. We think it's for us, for our enjoyment. It's in my advantage of my body and mind. But when you become Krishna conscious, you understand this car is not my car, this hotel is not or this house is not mine, and I maintain it for Krishna. You become, as explained in the 3rd chapter, 2 months ago we started with that. Remember, the cashier in the bank is getting money from someone to put on his bank account. It's not that the cashier becomes happy now he's receiving money, and then the next man withdraws money from his bank, and it's the cashier going to cry. No, he's giving it back. It's from the bank. So the devotee says, it's from Krishna. Whatever Krishna arranges is fine with me. I'm doing my best. But I never think it's mine. Never think it's my husband or my lover. Or what. That's very, very troublesome if you think like that. So we have to see spiritually. Yeah, spirit souls were getting their reactions from previous past activities. And yes, this person has a lot of bad karma. I've also got a lot of bad karma. So if we go together, what will be the result? Not much. But best to understand all this happiness and this stress of this body. It's just something we should not strive for. Let come what comes. That don't try to become happy in this world. That from the moment you stop to try to become happy in this world, you become happy. That's what Prahlad Maharaj says. So we should, if we engage in devotional service, then all these false concepts go away, and we feel satisfaction by the service, and not satisfaction of give satisfaction to the body. What's inside the body? You are going to give satisfaction to the kidney or to the intestines. Really very happy, but that's what you are doing. That the covering looks very nice, but if you look beyond the covering, what do you see? Not so nice. That's material energy. It looks nice from the outside, but the inside, it's so yes, suitable practice. Then next slide. This is from the purport of Srila Prabhupada. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore the expert treatment of the mad mind. That's a treatment. So you're hearing the Bhagavatam. If you have too much difficulty with your mind, you have to take a medicine hearing the Bhagavatam. And if it's not helping much, you have to increase the dose, hearing more. And eating foodstuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. Of course, not eating too much, but you need. That's the treatment. That treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada is a spiritual doctor, and he says, that's your disease. This is the treatment you have to get. And that's for all of us. That's it. Next one. So, this is Arjuna, he says, in my opinion, that yoga is not possible for one with an uncontrolled mind. So this yoga system, Ashtanga yoga, very difficult. So text 36, that's, yeah. Asam yatatmana yogo duspapra iti memati yasyatmana yatata sakyam faktum upayata. For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured for success. That is my opinion. So that's a section for today. So after hearing that, Arjuna will say, okay, maybe it's true, but he fears I may be unsuccessful in that. I will try it, Krishna, but so then he's asking a question, but if I'm unsuccessful, what's going to happen? And that we will discuss tomorrow morning on the last section. So, any question? Good. We have to sink it down into them all and try to digest it. You have to digest it with your intelligence, not with your mind. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.